The cold bit through his coat like teeth. Darnell pressed his hand against the glass door, fingerprints blooming frost where his skin touched. The lobby lights behind him burned warm and yellow. Outside, the street had disappeared under snow that fell thick enough to erase sound. He could see his breath, could count each exhale. 1, 2, 3. Problem. The voice came from behind him, smooth as oil on water. Darnell didn't turn. His boss always stood too close when he wanted something. Marcus Hightower, senior partner, the kind of man who smiled with too many teeth. No, sir. Just checking the conditions. Conditions are fine. Marcus moved closer. Darnell could smell his cologne now, expensive and sharp. The Brennan contracts need to be filed at the courthouse before 5. You know where that is. 4 blocks north. 4 blocks that might as well have been 4 miles in this weather. The omega suppressants Darnell took every morning made his body run cold even on good days. Yes, sir. Good. Marcus's hand landed on Darnell's shoulder, fingers pressing just hard enough to make a point. I'd send Jenkins, but he's handling the Morrison case. Thompson's out sick. That leaves you. It always left him. 3 years at Hightower and Associates, and Darnell had learned his place. Bottom. Replaceable. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. The roads are closed, Darnell said. Weather Service issued an advisory. Advisory, not a warning. Marcus's fingers tightened. You're not scared of a little snow, are you? The question hung in the air between them, sharp and ugly. Are you going to be difficult? Are you going to give me a reason? No, sir. Excellent. The hand lifted. Take the Brennan folder from reception. Don't be late. Darnell walked to reception on legs that felt distant. The folder sat exactly where Marcus said it would. Thick manila with a red urgent sticker. He tucked it inside his coat and pushed through the lobby doors. The cold hit him like a fist. Wind screamed between buildings, carrying snow sharp enough to cut. He made it half a block before his fingers went numb. The street was empty. No cars. No people. Just snow and wind and the distant groan of a plow working some other road. Darnell kept walking. The courthouse. For blocks. He didn't see the car until it was right beside him. Black. Expensive. It rolled to a stop, engine purring quietly. Tinted windows. The back door opened. Get in. The voice was wrong. Deep and smooth and carrying a weight that made Darnell's hindbrain scream warnings. Not a request. Command. Darnell took a step back. I'm fine. Thank you. You're freezing. Courthouse is closed. Has been for the last 20 minutes. That couldn't be right. Marcus said 5 o'clock. I need to check. You need to get out of the cold before you lose fingers. The wind shoved Darnell sideways. His foot hit ice and he went down hard, one knee cracking against concrete. The folder skidded away. Papers scattered, white on white, disappearing. Strong hands caught him under the arms and lifted. Darnell was moving backward, being pulled toward the car. He twisted, trying to break free, but the grip was iron and careful all at once. Let me go. Please, I need those papers. You need to breathe. And count it, like you were doing before. How did he know about the counting? Darnell was inside the car before he could finish the thought. The door shut, wind cut off, heat poured from the vents, and 3 men watched him with identical faces. Triplets. His heart stopped. The closest one leaned forward. Alpha. The chemical signature hit him like a wall, cutting through the suppressants. The other 2 had the same mark, the same presence. You don't recognize us. The one who'd pulled him inside tilted his head. That's interesting. Darnell's hand found the door handle. Locked. I don't know you. I've never seen you before. Liar. The triplet in the middle reached into his coat and pulled out the Brennan folder. Every single paper collected and ordered. He held it out. Your boss sent you out to die. He set the folder on Darnell's lap. Question is, did he know what he was doing? Or was it just convenient? The car started moving. Where are we going? Darnell gripped the folder. The triplet on his left smiled. Somewhere warm, somewhere safe, somewhere you should have stayed the first time. The suppressants were wearing off. Darnell could feel it in his blood. 3 alphas. 3 identical faces. 3 sets of eyes that looked at him like they owned him. And worst of all, some buried part of him remembered exactly why. The car turned down a street he'd spent 3 years avoiding, heading toward a part of the city he'd promised himself he'd never see again. What secret is Darnell hiding from his past? The building rose like a blade against the white sky. Black glass, 30 floors, the obsidian tower. Darnell had seen it before years ago when he was younger and thought love could survive anything. Headquarters for the Castellanos family. The triplet alphas who controlled half the city. The car descended into a private garage, past security gates that opened without anyone pressing a button. The driver pulled into a spot marked reserved. Out. The triplet on Darnell's right opened his door. Darnell didn't move. I need to go back. My boss is expecting me. Your boss is expecting you to fail. The middle triplet exited from the other side. He sent you into a blizzard with closed roads. What happens when you don't show up? He'll fire me. He'll blame you. There's a difference. Darnell knew that. 3 years of being the person who took the fall when things went wrong. I can explain. He won't care. The third triplet's voice was rougher than his brother's. Men like Marcus Hightower don't care about explanations. They care about results. The truth settled like ice in Darnell's stomach. He'd been set up. The elevator rose without anyone pressing a button. Floors blurred past. The triplets stood around him, blocking him in without touching. The doors opened on the 28th floor. The apartment was obscene. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Furniture that looked like art. Everything white and black and chrome. Sit. The rough-voiced triplet gestured to a couch. I'd rather stand. That wasn't a request. Darnell sat. The leather was soft enough to feel like a threat. You don't remember us. It wasn't a question this time. No. Should I? 4 years ago. July. The Meridian Hotel. You were working the front desk. Each word was deliberate. Saving money for law school that never happened. Darnell remembered. Remembered 3 men who looked identical and tipped like they'd never seen money before. Remembered one of them asking if Darnell wanted coffee when his shift ended. That was a long time ago. People change. Do they? Because you look the same, sound the same, even smell the same under all those chemicals. Heat crawled up Darnell's neck. My medical choices are none of your business. They are when they're killing you. Omega suppressants cause bone density loss, liver damage, cardiac complications. You've been on them for what, 3 years? 4. For years of poisoning yourself so you can work for a man who just tried to kill you. Explain that. I needed a job. You needed safety. We offered you that. You ran. The memory hit. The hotel room. The 3 of them asking questions Darnell didn't know how to answer. We want to know you. We want to understand. He'd left before they could finish. Had walked out in the middle of the night and sworn he'd never look back. That was different. You didn't know me. You just liked the idea of a challenge. Someone who said no. The silence that followed felt heavy enough to break bones. You're wrong. But you're going to believe what you want. The middle triplet pulled out his phone and typed something. Paper emerged from a printer. Weather advisory upgraded to a warning. All roads closed until tomorrow. Courthouse won't reopen until Monday. Darnell's phone buzzed. Marcus. Where are you? Marcus. Courthouse closed early. You should have checked. Marcus. Don't bother coming back tonight. We'll discuss this Monday. 3 messages designed to shift blame. What do you want? Darnell asked. Tonight? For you to not freeze to death. The middle triplet moved to the kitchen. Tomorrow? We'll talk about tomorrow when it comes. And after tomorrow? After tomorrow you make a choice. Same as you did 4 years ago. Hopefully a different one this time. Darnell's phone buzzed again. He turned it off. I'll stay tonight. Just tonight. The rough-voiced triplet smiled. That's what you said last time. Who told Marcus about Darnell's past? The clothes fit perfectly. Darnell stared at himself in the bathroom mirror and tried to figure out how they'd known his size. The sweatpants sat exactly right. The t-shirt draped perfectly. They'd prepared for this. He opened the door to the smell of food. Real food. Something with spices and effort behind it. Sit. The middle triplet pointed to a bar stool. You say that a lot. You don't listen a lot. Some things don't change. Darnell sat before his knees could give out. I don't know your names. The triplets exchanged a look. Quincy. The middle one gestured to himself. Cooking. Control freak. Oldest by 4 minutes. Rashad. Security. The one who got the scar you keep looking at. Terrence. The pretty one. The names clicked into place beside memories he'd tried to bury. Quincy asking questions about law school. Rashad bringing coffee at 2 in the morning. Terrence making him laugh. Why am I here? You were freezing. We helped. That's not what I mean. We know. Rashad's voice carried an edge. You want to know why we were on that street? Why we had your size clothes? Why we didn't let you walk away a second time? Quincy set a plate in front of Darnell. Jerk chicken. Rice and peas. Plantains. Hours of work. Eat first. Then we'll talk about why Marcus Hightower called us 3 days ago with a very interesting proposal. The fork clattered. Marcus called you. Personally. Said he had an employee who used to know us. Said you'd be walking a specific route at a specific time. Said we might want to be there. Why would he do that? You tell us. What does your boss gain by handing you over to 3 alphas he's never met? Darnell's mind raced. Marcus knew about the suppressants. Had to. But how did Marcus know about the triplets? I never told anyone. About you. About what happened. Someone knew. Quincy pulled out his phone. Marcus sent us your employment records. Your address. Your medical information. Everything. That's illegal. So is half of what we do. Darnell stood too fast. The room tilted. Rashad caught him. When's the last time you ate something that wasn't a pill? Yesterday. Maybe the day before. I'm fine. You're not. And you haven't been fine for a long time. Darnell looked at the food. Looked at 3 men watching him with expressions he couldn't read. Marcus had sold him. Had packaged up Darnell's entire life and handed it to 3 strangers. He picked up the fork and took a bite. The flavors exploded. He ate until the plate was clean. Marcus wanted me gone. He's been looking for a reason to fire me. So he made one. Maybe. Or maybe he was doing someone a favor. Question is whose? Terrence hadn't moved from the doorway. There's something else. Marcus said you had information. About his firm. That you were a liability. Ice crawled down Darnell's spine. What kind of information? He didn't specify. Just said you were a problem. That we'd be doing him a favor by keeping you occupied. I want to leave. Can't. Blizzard's worse. Power's out in half the city. Then I'll wait it out somewhere else. Where? Every hotel is full. You got family? He didn't. Or you could stay. Guest room's empty. Door locks from the inside. I don't believe that. Smart. But it's still the best option you have. Darnell wanted to argue. But he was warm for the first time in hours. His stomach was full. One night. Then tomorrow we'll talk about what Marcus really wants. Terrence showed him to the guest room. King bed. Private bathroom. A window showing the storm. Lock works. We won't test it. Why should I believe you? Because 4 years ago we let you walk away when we could have stopped you. We respected your choice then. We'll respect it now. Darnell locked the door after Terrence left. He moved to the window. Somewhere out there was his apartment. His job. His carefully constructed life falling apart. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown, you found them. Good. Stay there. You're safer than you've been in years. Unknown. P.S. Check your employment contract. Section 14. He pulled up his contract and felt his blood go cold. Non-compete and confidentiality. Employee agrees that any knowledge gained during employment remains property of Hightower and associates in perpetuity. Violation will result in immediate termination and legal action, including criminal charges. Criminal charges. For quitting a job. Someone was watching. Someone who knew Darnell would end up here. Who's watching Darnell? Morning came gray and cold. Darnell woke to silence. No traffic. No sirens. Just quiet. 6 missed calls from Marcus. 12 texts. I hope you're making good choices. He deleted them all and unlocked the door. Coffee smells filled the apartment. Quincy stood in the kitchen kneading dough. Coffee's hot. Darnell poured a cup. The view showed a city buried. Nothing moved. They're saying 3 days minimum before roads clear. 3 days trapped here. 3 days of Marcus's messages piling up. I need to call my landlord. Already done. Told him you were staying with friends. He said your rent's late. Heat crawled up Darnell's neck. That's none of your business. It is when we're trying to help. How late? 2 months. 3. We checked. You're 3 months behind and he's filed eviction. You have until the end of February. Darnell set his coffee down before he could throw it. You had no right. We had every right. Marcus sent us your files. That includes your financial information. Credit score. Debt. That's illegal. So sue him. Oh wait, you can't. Because you signed away your right to legal action. Darnell sank into a stool. What does he want? You to disappear. Question is why. You file papers. You answer phones. What could you possibly know? The Morrison case. Thompson was handling it before he got sick. He asked me to review some depositions. There were discrepancies. Witness statements that didn't match evidence. I mentioned it to Thompson. He said he'd handle it. That was 3 weeks ago. Then he called in sick. Quincy and Rashad exchanged a look that made Darnell's stomach drop. The Morrison case. That's a wrongful termination suit against Meridian Holdings. Okay. Meridian Holdings is owned by shell corporations. If you dig deep enough, it's owned by Marcus Hightower. The room tilted. That's a conflict of interest. He's not representing both sides. He's representing Meridian. The plaintiff thinks he's representing them. But those discrepancies you found? They were intentional. Marcus is sabotaging his own client's case. Why? Because if Morrison wins, they expose how Meridian treats employees, which opens them up to a class action lawsuit that could cost billions. Marcus isn't a lawyer. He's a fixer. And you just figured out what he's been fixing. Darnell's phone buzzed. Marcus with an attachment. A photo. Thompson. Unconscious in a hospital bed. Machines beeping. Bandages. He did that. Probably. Thompson found something he shouldn't have. So did you. Difference is, you're harder to make disappear because you're connected to us now. I'm not connected to you. You knew us well enough to run. 4 years ago, you stayed one night. We offered you everything. And you left before sunrise. The memory hit. Waking up tangled in sheets that smelled like them. The terror of wanting something so badly it scared him. I had my reasons. You had fear. Darnell stood and moved to the window. Why did he send me to you? Because we have a reputation. Marcus thought he was being smart. Thought he could hand you over and we'd make you disappear. But you didn't. No. Why not? Because 4 years ago you looked at us like we were human. Not dangerous. Not powerful. Just 3 men trying to figure out if you felt what we felt. Darnell turned. All 3 stood there. Want. Need. Something deeper. This is insane. You don't know me. Then let us learn. Let us protect you. And when this is over, you can decide if you want to stay. And if I don't? Then we let you go. Same as before. That's it. One demand. Stop taking the suppressants. They're killing you. Darnell's hand went to his pocket. I need them. You needed them when you were alone. But you're not alone anymore. His bones ached. His hands shook. His body was breaking down. I'll think about it. Somewhere in the city, Marcus was planning. Somewhere out there, Thompson was fighting for his life. And somewhere in this apartment was a truth Darnell had been running from. He wasn't alone anymore. Will Darnell stop taking the suppressants? The suppressants sat on the bathroom counter like an accusation. Darnell stared at the orange bottle. He'd taken one every morning for 4 years. Same routine. Same quiet surrender. The bottle was almost empty. Maybe 2 weeks left. They were going to cut him off anyway. He unscrewed the cap and dumped the pills into the toilet. Watched them spiral down and disappear. Too late now. He opened the door to find Rashad waiting. You did it. Don't make this a thing. Too late. Come on. We found something. The living room had transformed into a command center. Laptops everywhere. Papers spread across tables. A whiteboard covered in names and dates. Here's what we know. Quincy pointed to the board. Marcus owns Meridian Holdings through shell corporations. Morrison is suing for wrongful termination. If they win, they expose the company's practice of classifying employees as contractors to avoid benefits, which opens the door for a class action. Hundreds of former employees. Billions in settlements. So Marcus tanks the case from the inside. Rashad circled a name. Uses Thompson to find holes. When Thompson realizes and tries to fix it, Marcus has him removed. Then you find the same holes, which makes you a liability. But instead of handling you like Thompson, Marcus makes a different choice. He calls us. Why? Terrence pulled up a photo on his laptop. 4 years old. Darnell outside the Meridian Hotel, laughing. Behind him, barely visible, all 3 triplets watching. Someone took this the night we met you. Someone was watching. They sent it to Marcus 3 months ago. Darnell's stomach dropped. Who? We don't know yet. But whoever it was knew we'd been looking for you. And they gave Marcus exactly enough information to use you as bait. Bait for what? For us. The Castellanos family has been a problem for certain people. We operate in spaces they want to control. Someone told Marcus about you. Told him how to find you. Told him how to deliver you to us. And then what? They're watching to see what we do. Rashad pulled up security footage. 3 cameras on this building activated in the last 24 hours. Professional grade. Private. The footage showed the building entrance. The garage. The street. They're waiting for me to leave. Or for us to make a mistake. 3 alpha criminals kidnapping an Omega? That's a headline. That's exactly the kind of thing that could bring us down. But I'm not kidnapped. Doesn't matter. Optics beat truth every time. Darnell sat down hard. So I'm trapped. Protected. There's a difference. The apartment went quiet. Darnell could feel the suppressants leaving his system. His sense of smell was getting sharper. He could pick out individual scents now. And underneath, something deeper. Alpha pheromones his body recognized. I'm going to heat cycle. Without the suppressants. It'll happen in the next few days. All 3 triplets froze. How bad? Quincy asked carefully. I don't know. I've been on suppressants since I presented. Never had a real cycle. We'll handle it. We'll give you space. That's not how heat cycles work. You can't just keep your distance. Then we'll leave. All 3 of us. And leave me alone? Vulnerable? With someone watching? Darnell shook his head. That's worse. Then what do you want us to do? That was the question. What did Darnell want? He'd spent 4 years running from this. 4 years convincing himself he was better off alone. But his body was already remembering, already responding, already preparing for a cycle that would strip away every defense. I don't know. I don't know what I want. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown. Cameras are live. Don't try to leave. Unknown. Marcus meeting with someone tonight. Warehouse district. Sending address. Unknown. They're planning something. You need to know what. The address came through. Rashad swore quietly. That's neutral ground. Where families meet when they want to talk without starting wars. Which families? The kind that make us look like amateurs. If Marcus is meeting them there, this is bigger than we thought. Quincy moved closer. We need to know what they're planning. Can't. We're being watched. The second we leave, they know. So we don't all leave. Quincy looked at Darnell. How do you feel about a little fieldwork? Absolutely not. Rashad turned on his brother. He's not going out there. He's the only one they won't expect. Marcus thinks Darnell is trapped here. He's about to go into heat. You want to send him into a warehouse full of criminals while his body is betraying him. I want to know what Marcus is planning before it's too late. I'll go. Darnell stood up. But not alone. One of you comes with me. We go in quiet. We listen. We leave. Too dangerous. So is staying here. Marcus is about to make plans that probably involve both of us dying. I'd rather know what's coming. Quincy studied him. You're sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. Terrence laughed. For years ago you ran because you were scared. Now you're walking into danger because you're scared. That's growth. That's stupidity. Maybe. But it's my choice. You said I could choose. So I'm choosing. The triplets exchanged a look. Quincy nodded. Okay, we go tonight. But we do it smart. And the second anything feels wrong, we abort. Your safety is more important than information. Agreed. And when this is over, we sit down and talk about what happens next. Because whether you stay or go, you deserve to know the truth about 4 years ago. About why we let you run. Darnell's breath caught. What truth? Later. After we handle Marcus. After you're safe. Then we'll tell you everything. The snow was finally stopping. The city was emerging, revealing the damage underneath. Darnell looked at the pills he'd flushed. At the triplets who wanted him. At the security footage. At his phone with messages from a man who wanted him dead. And somewhere in all that chaos was a choice. The same choice he'd run from 4 years ago. Between safety and want. Between protection and love. Between surviving and actually living. His body was already deciding, preparing for a heat that would strip away every lie. But first he had a warehouse to infiltrate. What secret are the triplets hiding? And what is Marcus planning? The warehouse smelled like rust and old blood. Darnell pressed himself against the corrugated metal wall, breathing through his mouth to avoid the stench. Beside him, Quincy moved like smoke, silent and deliberate. They'd left the apartment through a service exit the cameras couldn't see, dressed in black, faces covered against the cold that had returned with nightfall. 2 guards at the main entrance. Quincy's voice came through the earpiece so quietly Darnell almost missed it. 3 more inside. Marcus is already here. Black sedan. Plates registered to a dummy corporation. Darnell's heart hammered against his ribs. The heat was starting. He could feel it building under his skin, making everything sharper and stranger. Quincy's scent cut through the cold air like a blade. Alpha. Protective. Dangerous in ways that made Darnell's hindbrain scream contradictory commands. Run. Stay. Submit. Fight. Focus. Quincy's hand touched his shoulder, just for a second. I can smell it too. We'll be fast. They moved along the perimeter until they found what Quincy was looking for. A ventilation shaft, rusted through at the bottom. He pulled the grate free without making a sound and gestured for Darnell to go first. The shaft was tight and filthy. Darnell crawled forward on his elbows, trying not to think about what he was moving through. Ahead, light filtered through another grate. Voices drifted up, muffled but audible. Told you he'd be a problem. That was Marcus, smooth and controlled like always. You told us you'd handle it. A woman's voice, cold enough to freeze bone. You said the Omega would disappear, that the Castellanos brothers would eliminate him quietly. Instead, they're protecting him, which means you failed. Darnell stopped crawling. Quincy pressed close behind him, warm and solid in the confined space. I delivered him exactly as promised. Marcus sounded defensive now. What they chose to do with him isn't my responsibility. Everything is your responsibility. A third voice, male, accent Darnell couldn't place. You were paid to solve a problem. The problem still exists. Therefore, you have not earned your money. The Omega doesn't know anything concrete. Just suspicions about the Morrison case. Nothing he can prove. Yet, the woman again. But he's smart. And now he has access to people with resources. People who know how to dig. How long before they connect Morrison to the other cases? Before they realize what you've really been doing? Silence. Heavy and thick with threat. I can fix this. Marcus's voice had gone tight. Give me 3 more days. I'll draw him out. The Castellanos brothers can't watch him forever. 3 days. The accented man spoke slowly, like he was tasting each word. And if you fail again, we'll handle it ourselves. Starting with you. Footsteps. Movement. Darnell pressed himself flat against the shaft floor, barely breathing. Through the grate he could see shadows moving. Marcus. A woman in a red coat. A man in a suit that probably cost more than Darnell made in 6 months. What about Thompson? Marcus asked. Is he still a problem? Thompson won't be a problem much longer. The woman checked her phone. The accident will happen tomorrow morning. Brake failure. Very tragic. Darnell's blood went cold. They were going to kill Thompson. Make it look like an accident. And if Thompson died, the only person left who knew about the Morrison case discrepancies was Darnell. Quincy's hand found his in the dark. Squeezed once. A message. We need to leave. Now. But Darnell couldn't move. Couldn't look away from the grate where 3 people stood casually discussing murder like it was a business transaction. And the photographs? Marcus pulled out his phone. You're certain they'll be enough? Surveillance from the Obsidian Tower. The woman smiled. 3 alphas. 1 omega. Intimate settings. Tells a story. Kidnapping. Coercion. Sexual exploitation. The media will destroy them. Even if the Omega denies it? Especially if the Omega denies it. Stockholm Syndrome. Trauma bonding. We'll have experts lined up to explain why his testimony can't be trusted. She tucked her phone away. The Castellanos family has been untouchable for too long. This gives us exactly what we need to bring them down. What about the Omega? The accented man asked. After. The woman shrugged. Collateral damage. We'll make it quick. Quincy's hand tightened on Darnell's. His breathing had changed, gone rough and dangerous. Darnell could feel the rage rolling off him in waves, hot enough to burn. They needed to leave. Right now. Before Quincy did something that got them both killed. Darnell tugged on Quincy's hand and started crawling backward. Slow. Careful. Every movement controlled despite the fear screaming through his veins. They made it 10 feet before the grate beneath Darnell's hand gave way. The sound of metal hitting concrete echoed through the warehouse like a gunshot. What was that? Marcus's voice, sharp with alarm. The vents. Someone's in the vents. Footsteps. Running. Shouting. Go! Quincy shoved Darnell forward. Move! Darnell scrambled through the shaft, knees slamming against metal, hands scraping rust. Behind him he could hear Quincy moving, could hear the warehouse erupting into chaos. Guards yelling, doors slamming, the distinctive click of guns being drawn. They burst out of the shaft into freezing air. Darnell hit the ground running, Quincy right beside him. The car was 3 blocks away. 3 blocks through empty streets where they'd be visible. Exposed. Easy targets. A bullet hit the wall beside Darnell's head. Concrete exploding into dust and fragments. Quincy grabbed his arm and yanked him sideways into an alley. Another shot. Closer this time. Darnell could hear footsteps pounding behind them. Multiple sets. Getting louder. This way. Quincy pulled him through a gap between buildings so narrow Darnell had to turn sideways. They emerged onto another street. The car was there, engine already running. Rashad in the driver's seat, Terrence in the back with the door open. Get in, Terrence shouted. They dove into the car. Rashad hit the gas before the door even closed. Tires screamed against ice. The warehouse disappeared behind them, but Darnell could still see men pouring out, could still see Marcus standing in the doorway with his phone to his ear, making a call, giving orders, sending people after them. They're going to kill Thompson tomorrow. Darnell gasped out the words between breaths. Brake failure. They called it an accident. We'll stop them. Quincy's voice was iron and ice. What else? They have surveillance photos. From your building. They're going to use them to destroy you. Make it look like you kidnapped me. Coerced me. Rashad swore and took a corner so fast the car went up on 2 wheels. And they're planning to kill me after. Darnell closed his eyes. Called me collateral damage. The car went silent except for the engine and the sound of breathing. 3 alphas processing the fact that someone had just declared war on their family. On the Omega they were protecting. Terrence leaned forward between the seats. How many people were there? 3. Marcus. A woman in red. A man with an accent. The woman. Quincy's jaw was tight enough to break teeth. Describe her. 40s. Blonde. Expensive clothes. Cold eyes. Victoria Brennan. Rashad hit the steering wheel. CEO of Brennan Industries. One of the most powerful people in the city. The Brennan contracts. The ones Marcus had sent Darnell to file. The ones that had started all of this. She's been using Marcus to sabotage cases for years. Darnell's mind was racing, pieces clicking together. Morrison isn't the first. He's been doing this for dozens of clients. Maybe hundreds. Taking cases he knows he'll lose and making sure they lose. All to protect her companies. And now she wants us gone because we're protecting the one person who can prove it. Quincy pulled out his phone. We need to move. Now. Tonight. They know we know. They'll come for us hard and fast. The car sped through empty streets, heading back toward the Obsidian Tower. Back to the apartment that was supposed to be safe but was now just another trap. Darnell's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Unknown, you shouldn't have gone to the warehouse. Now they know you're a threat. Run. Tonight. Don't trust anyone. He showed it to Quincy, who read it and went very still. Who is this? Quincy asked quietly. Who's been sending you these messages? I don't know. Find out. Because whoever they are, they've been watching you this whole time. And they knew exactly what would happen when Marcus sent you to us. The tower rose ahead, black glass reflecting city lights. Home, prison, sanctuary. Darnell didn't know which anymore. But somewhere in that building was safety. And somewhere in this city was a person who'd been watching, helping, guiding him toward something he couldn't see yet. The question was whether that person wanted to save him or use him for something worse. Who's been sending the messages? And can Darnell trust them? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insights inspire others. The apartment was exactly as they'd left it, but it felt different now. Darnell stood in the middle of the living room while the triplets moved around him with military precision. Rashad swept for bugs and cameras. Terrence pulled weapons from hidden compartments Darnell hadn't known existed. Quincy worked 3 phones at once, making calls in languages Darnell didn't speak. The heat was getting worse. Every alpha scent in the room made his skin crawl with want. His body was preparing for something his mind wasn't ready to accept. Clear. Rashad finished his sweep. No new surveillance. Whatever they're planning, they haven't made a move yet. They will. Quincy ended a call and immediately started another. Victoria Brennan doesn't make threats. She makes examples. We have maybe 6 hours before this building becomes a war zone. Then we leave. Terrence checked a gun that looked military grade. Go to one of the safe houses. Regroup. No. Darnell's voice came out stronger than he felt. We can't run. Thompson dies tomorrow if we don't stop it. And if he dies, I'm the only witness left. All 3 triplets turned to look at him. You're not going anywhere near Thompson. Quincy's tone left no room for argument. Victoria has people watching the hospital. You show up, you're dead. So we let him die? We send people we trust. People who know how to move quietly. Rashad crossed his arms. You stay here where it's safe. Safe. Darnell laughed without humor. You just said this building is about to become a war zone. Nothing about this is safe. His phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. Unknown. Thompson is at Mercy General. Room 487. 2 guards outside his door. 1 nurse on Victoria's payroll. Night shift ends at 6 a.m. Window closes at 5:45. Unknown, you have to be the one to move him. Anyone else and they'll know. They're watching for the triplets. Not for you. Darnell showed the message to Quincy, whose expression went dark. Absolutely not. It's the only way. Darnell pocketed his phone. They're watching for you. All of you. But they think I'm trapped here. Think I'm helpless. They won't expect me to show up alone. Because it's suicide. Terrence moved closer. You're about to go into full heat. Your judgment is compromised. Your body is vulnerable. And you want to walk into a hospital full of people who want you dead. I want Thompson to live. Darnell met his eyes. He tried to do the right thing. Tried to fix the Morrison case. And Marcus had him beaten half to death for it. If I can save him, I have to try. Quincy was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and made another call. Spoke rapidly in what sounded like Portuguese. Listened. Nodded. Hung up. We have people at Mercy General. Maintenance staff. Security. Kitchen workers. All on our payroll. He looked at Darnell. You go in, you don't go alone. You'll have backup you can't see. But if anything goes wrong, if you're compromised, they pull you out. No arguments. Okay. I'm serious. Quincy stepped closer. Close enough that Darnell could feel his heat. You follow their instructions exactly. You trust them completely. Because if you die trying to be a hero, I will find a way to bring you back just so I can kill you myself. Despite everything, Darnell almost smiled. Noted. Good. Quincy handed him an earpiece. Put this in. Keep it in. We'll be listening to everything. The next 3 hours were a crash course in infiltration. Rashad taught him how to move through a building without being noticed. Terrence showed him basic self-defense, movements designed to create space and run, not fight. Quincy drilled him on the hospital layout until Darnell could navigate it blind. By 4 in the morning, Darnell was as ready as he'd ever be. The heat was a constant throb under his skin now, making everything feel unreal and hyper-real at the same time. Colors too bright, sounds too loud. Every breath filled with alpha scent that made his body beg for things he couldn't think about right now. Cars waiting. Rashad handed him a jacket. Driver's one of ours. He'll get you within 2 blocks of the hospital. After that, you're on foot. Darnell took the jacket and tried not to think about all the ways this could go wrong. What happens to Thompson after I get him out? We have a place. Quincy adjusted Darnell's collar, fingers lingering just a second too long. Safe. Off-grid. He can recover there while we figure out how to handle Victoria. And Marcus. Marcus is mine. Something dangerous moved behind Quincy's eyes. He put you in danger. He sold you. He tried to have you killed. That's personal. Darnell wanted to argue, wanted to say that revenge was stupid and dangerous and wouldn't solve anything. But looking at Quincy's face, he knew it wouldn't matter. Some things couldn't be forgiven. Some debts had to be paid in blood. The ride to the hospital was silent. The driver was a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and hands that stayed steady on the wheel. She didn't speak, didn't ask questions. Just drove through empty pre-dawn streets while Darnell tried to control his breathing. 2 blocks out. Her voice was calm. You're clear for the next 4 minutes. After that, shift change starts and the window closes. Darnell climbed out of the car and started walking. The hospital rose ahead, all lit windows and the antiseptic smell of sickness and fear. He could hear Quincy breathing through the earpiece, could feel 3 sets of eyes watching through cameras he couldn't see. The loading dock door was propped open exactly like the unknown messenger said it would be. Darnell slipped inside, moving through corridors that smelled like bleach and old coffee. A janitor nodded at him. One of Quincy's people, acknowledging without drawing attention. 4th floor. Room 487. 2 guards outside the door, both looking bored and tired. Darnell walked past without looking at them, counting doors. 485. 486. The nurse's station was 30 feet ahead, and the nurse behind the desk was watching her phone instead of the monitors. Victoria's person. Had to be. Darnell's heart hammered. He'd never done anything like this before. Never broken into a hospital room. Never tried to move an unconscious patient without authorization. This was insane. You're clear. Quincy's voice came through the earpiece. Fire alarm in 3, 2, 1. The building erupted into sound. Alarms screaming. Lights flashing. The guards at Thompson's door looked at each other, then ran toward the stairs. The nurse grabbed her bag and followed. In 30 seconds, the hallway was empty. Darnell pushed through the door into Thompson's room. The man in the bed looked nothing like the confident paralegal who'd asked Darnell to review depositions 3 weeks ago. Bruises covered his face. Bandages wrapped his ribs. Machines beeped steadily, tracking vitals that looked too low to sustain life. Thompson. Darnell touched his shoulder gently. Can you hear me? Nothing. The medications kept him safe from the pain of what Marcus had done. Wheelchair behind the door. Quincy's voice was steady. Get him in it. Blanket over his lap. You have 90 seconds before the alarm stops. Darnell moved fast. Disconnected monitors. Transferred Thompson to the wheelchair with strength he didn't know he had. Covered him with a blanket and grabbed the 4-pole. Go. Service elevator. End of the hall. He pushed through the door and ran. The service elevator was exactly where Quincy said. Empty. Waiting. Darnell got Thompson inside and hit the button for the basement. The doors started to close. A hand caught them at the last second. Victoria Brennan stepped into the elevator. Red coat perfect. Smile cold as winter. Hello, Darnell. She pressed the emergency stop button. We need to talk. Will Darnell escape Victoria? And who is the unknown messenger? Subscribe and turn on notifications. This story is about to explode. Drop your theories in the comments and inspire others with your insights. The elevator hung suspended between floors, emergency lights casting everything in sickly yellow. Victoria stood between Darnell and the control panel, completely relaxed. Like she did this every day. Like trapping people in elevators was just another business meeting. You're very resourceful. She glanced at Thompson, still unconscious in the wheelchair. I underestimated you. That was a mistake. Darnell's hand tightened on the wheelchair handle. Let us go. I don't think so. Victoria pulled a phone from her coat pocket. You see, you've become a rather expensive problem. The Castellanos brothers. Thompson. Marcus's incompetence. All of it traces back to you noticing things you shouldn't have noticed. I was doing my job. Your job was to file papers and keep your mouth shut. Her smile never wavered. Instead, you found discrepancies, asked questions, made yourself relevant. And now here we are. Through the earpiece, Darnell could hear chaos. Quincy shouting orders. Rashad swearing. Terrence saying something about 2 minutes out. But 2 minutes might as well be 2 hours. Victoria had him trapped, and they both knew it. What do you want? Darnell asked. I want you to understand something. Victoria moved closer, and Darnell pressed back against the elevator wall. I've spent 20 years building an empire. Dozens of companies. Thousands of employees. Billions in revenue. And I did it by being smarter than everyone else. By anticipating problems before they became catastrophic. By exploiting workers and covering it up through Marcus. By running efficient businesses that don't waste money on unnecessary benefits. She corrected. The market rewards efficiency. I simply provide what the market wants. You're stealing from people who can't fight back. I'm operating within the law. Or near enough that it doesn't matter. Victoria checked her phone. But you and Thompson and your little investigation threatened to change that. Threatened to expose practices that would cost me everything. So I had to make choices. Like having Thompson beaten? Like removing obstacles. She said it so casually. Like violence was just another line item in a budget. He wouldn't listen to reason. Wouldn't accept a very generous settlement to disappear quietly. So we had to be more direct. And me. You were supposed to disappear too. Marcus delivered you to the Castellanos brothers with very specific expectations. They were supposed to eliminate you. Quietly. Permanently. Victoria's expression flickered with something that might have been annoyance. Instead, they kept you. Protected you. Which created a whole new set of problems. The elevator shook. Someone was working on it from above. Quincy's people, maybe. Or Victoria's. No way to know. So what now? Darnell asked. You kill us both? Here. Here? No. Too messy. Too visible. Victoria moved to the control panel. But I did want to meet you. To see the person who's caused me so much trouble. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone weaker. More frightened. Someone who'd take money and run. She studied him with eyes that calculated value the way normal people calculated grocery bills. But you're different. You care about things. About people. About right and wrong. That makes you dangerous in ways Marcus never understood. Through the earpiece. 30 seconds. Hold on. Darnell just needed to keep her talking. Keep her distracted. 30 seconds. Marcus called you about me 3 days ago. He tried to sound scared instead of stalling. How did you know about my connection to the Castellanos brothers? I didn't. Marcus did. Victoria smiled. He has quite the talent for finding leverage. Digging up secrets. He discovered your little romance with 3 crime lords and saw an opportunity. I simply approved the plan. What plan? Use you to bring them down. 3 alphas kidnapping an Omega makes excellent press. Especially when that Omega can testify about all their illegal activities. She checked her phone again. We have photos. Surveillance. Enough to destroy their reputation and their business. All we needed was you to play your part. I won't. You won't have a choice. Once Thompson is dead and you're alone, you'll say exactly what we tell you to say. Or we'll make it hurt until you do. The elevator lurched. Cables screaming. Victoria stumbled, and Darnell saw his chance. He shoved the wheelchair at her as hard as he could. Thompson's weight knocked her sideways into the wall. Darnell slammed his hand on the emergency release button, and the elevator doors cracked open. 2 inches. 4. 6. Rashad's face appeared in the gap. Move! Hands reached through, grabbing Darnell, pulling him and the wheelchair through the narrow opening. They were in the basement. Service corridor. Terrence was there with a gun pointed at Victoria, who was climbing to her feet with murder in her eyes. Go! Terrence shouted. I've got her. Rashad pushed the wheelchair at a run. Darnell sprinted beside him, lungs burning, heat making everything feel like he was moving through water. Behind them, gunshots, shouting, the sound of more people arriving. They burst through a loading dock door into freezing air. A van was waiting, back doors open. Quincy inside reaching for Thompson. Get in. They loaded Thompson and scrambled inside. The van was moving before the doors even closed. Darnell collapsed against the wall, gasping, shaking. Through the back window he could see the hospital receding. See figures pouring out of the loading dock. See Terrence running toward a motorcycle, Victoria's people right behind him. Where's Terrence? Darnell grabbed Quincy's arm. We can't leave him. He'll meet us at the safe house. Quincy's voice was tight. He knows what he's doing. But Darnell could see the fear in his eyes. Could see Rashad gripping the steering wheel hard enough to break it. Could hear the unspoken worry that Terrence might not make it out. His phone buzzed. Unknown. Victoria knows about the safe house. Don't go there. Sending new coordinates. Trust me. New coordinates appeared. An address in a part of the city Darnell didn't recognize. We can't trust this. Quincy read the message over his shoulder. We don't know who's sending these. They've been right about everything else. Darnell's hands were shaking. The warehouse, the hospital, the timing. Whoever this is, they've been helping us. Or setting us up for something worse. The van sped through empty streets while they argued. Thompson unconscious between them. Terrence somewhere behind them, maybe alive, maybe not. Victoria mobilizing her entire organization to hunt them down. And somewhere in the city was a person who knew everything, who'd been watching, guiding, helping them towards something Darnell still couldn't see. Rashad made a decision, turned the van toward the unknown coordinates instead of the safe house. Quincy swore but didn't argue. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a warehouse that looked abandoned. Broken windows, graffiti-covered walls, the kind of place people went to disappear. The loading dock door rolled open as they approached. Inside was a medical setup that belonged in a real hospital. Monitors, supplies, a bed already prepared. And standing beside it, wearing scrubs and a mask, was someone Darnell recognized. His former roommate, Deshaun, who'd moved out 2 years ago to work overseas, who wasn't supposed to be in the country, who'd apparently been the unknown messenger all along. Took you long enough. Deshaun pulled the mask down, revealing a face Darnell hadn't seen in 2 years. Get Thompson on the bed. We don't have much time before Victoria tracks the van. You. Quincy's voice was dangerous. You've been sending the messages. Yeah. And you're welcome, by the way. Deshaun started hooking Thompson up to monitors with practiced efficiency. I've kept Darnell alive for the last 3 days. Least you could do is say thank you. Why? Darnell found his voice. Why help us? Why come back? Deshaun met his eyes. Because Victoria Brennan killed my brother. And I've been waiting 2 years for a chance to destroy her. You just gave me exactly what I needed. Who was Deshaun's brother? And what's his real plan? Subscribe and turn on notifications. These final chapters will change everything. Share your thoughts below and inspire others. Deshaun worked on Thompson with the precision of someone who'd done this before, checking vitals and adjusting medications while Darnell tried to process what was happening. Your brother. Darnell's voice came out rough. You never mentioned a brother. Because talking about him meant talking about how he died. Deshaun didn't look up from the monitors. Cameron, 23, worked for one of Victoria's subsidiaries as a contractor. No benefits, no health care. When he got sick, the company classified him as an independent contractor and denied his insurance claim. By the time we scraped together enough money for treatment, it was too late. The room went quiet except for the beeping of Thompson's monitors and the distant sound of traffic outside. He died 6 months after diagnosis. Cancer that could have been caught early if he'd had regular checkups. Could have been treated if he'd had proper insurance. Deshaun's hands were steady, but his voice shook. Victoria's company saved $12,000 by misclassifying him. My brother's life was worth $12,000 to her. Quincy moved closer to the monitors. So you've been planning this for 2 years? Planning, waiting, gathering evidence. Deshaun pulled out a tablet and started pulling up files. I got hired by her European operations, worked my way up, got access to internal documents, started building a case that even her lawyers couldn't make disappear. And me? Darnell asked. How did I fit into this? You weren't supposed to. Not at first. Deshaun finally looked at him. I was tracking Marcus, trying to find proof he was sabotaging cases. When I saw your name on the Morrison file, I got worried. Reached out to some mutual friends. Found out you were working for him. Found out about the suppressants and the debt and how trapped you were. So you've been watching me. Protecting you. There's a difference. Deshaun's expression softened. You were my friend, D. When I found out Marcus was planning to use you as bait for the Castellanos brothers, I had to intervene. Had to make sure you survived long enough to help me take Victoria down. Rashad crossed his arms. By sending anonymous messages and manipulating us all into position? By giving you information when you needed it and staying hidden so Victoria's people couldn't trace it back to Darnell. Deshaun turned back to the tablet. I've been feeding you breadcrumbs. Leading you exactly where you needed to be. And now we're here. Thompson is safe. You have proof of what Marcus has been doing. And I have everything I need to destroy Victoria Brennan's empire. What proof? Quincy asked. Deshaun pulled up a file. Pages and pages of documentation. Employment records. medical claims, witness statements, a pattern of behavior spanning 2 decades and hundreds of workers just like Cameron. People who'd been misclassified, denied benefits, left to die or go bankrupt trying to survive. The Morrison case isn't unique. It's standard practice. Deshawn scrolled through the evidence. Victoria has been doing this for years, and Marcus has been helping her cover it up by sabotaging lawsuits from the inside. I have proof of 43 cases where he deliberately lost for clients who should have won. I have emails, recordings, financial transactions showing payments from Victoria's shell corporations to Marcus's personal accounts. Darnell stared at the screen. This would destroy them both. That's the idea. Deshawn smiled, but it wasn't a happy expression. But I need one more thing to make it stick. I need Thompson to testify, to confirm what Marcus did to him and why, to put a human face on Victoria's crimes. He can barely breathe. Rashad gestured to the bed where Thompson lay unconscious. You want him to testify? Not today, but soon. Once he's stable and safe and ready to talk. Deshawn closed the tablet. With his testimony and my evidence, we can bring federal charges. RICO statutes, organized criminal conspiracy. Victoria won't just lose her companies. She'll lose her freedom. A sound from outside. Vehicles. Multiple engines. The warehouse lights flickered. Quincy pulled out his phone. They found us. Impossible. This location is off-grid. No paper trail. Deshawn moved to the window and swore. Unless someone followed the van. Or someone sold us out. Rashad drew a weapon. How many people know about this place? Just me. And now you. Deshawn's face had gone pale. We need to move Thompson. Get him somewhere safer. There is nowhere safer. Quincy was already making calls. Terrence. Where are you? Static. Then Terrence's voice, strained with pain. Had to ditch the motorcycle. They're everywhere. I'm pinned down near the river district. Can you get to the warehouse? Not without leading them straight to you. Gunshots in the background. Terrence swearing. Go. Get Darnell out. I'll buy you time. Terrence. The line went dead. Darnell's heart stopped. Terrence was alone. Surrounded. Maybe dying while they stood here arguing about evidence and testimony and justice that felt distant and impossible. We have to help him. Darnell moved toward the door. Quincy caught his arm. We help him by staying alive. By not getting captured. By making sure Victoria doesn't win. She's already winning. Darnell yanked free. She has Terrence. She's about to have us. And when she does, all of this evidence won't matter because we'll all be dead. The warehouse door exploded inward. Armed men poured through, tactical gear, military weapons. Victoria walked in behind them, red coat pristine, smile sharp as knives. I told you. She surveyed the warehouse with satisfaction. You can't hide from me. Not in my city. Quincy, Rashad, and Deshawn moved to shield Darnell and Thompson, but they were outnumbered 10-1. Outgunned. Trapped. Victoria's eyes landed on the medical equipment. On Thompson unconscious in the bed. On the tablet Deshawn had been holding. You've been busy. She picked up the tablet, scrolling through files. Evidence. How thorough. How utterly pointless. That's proof of everything you've done. Deshawn's voice shook with rage. Proof you've been exploiting workers for decades. Proof you killed my brother. Your brother. Victoria looked genuinely confused for a moment. Then recognition dawned. Cameron Deshawn. The contractor. I remember now. He made quite a fuss before he died. Even tried to file a lawsuit. That Marcus sabotaged. That Marcus handled appropriately, yes? Victoria dropped the tablet. It shattered on the concrete floor. Your brother was weak. Unable to adapt. The market selected him out. That's not murder. That's evolution. Deshawn lunged. Rashad grabbed him before he could reach Victoria. Guns trained on them from every angle. Touching. Victoria smiled. But ultimately futile. You see, I already won. Your evidence is destroyed. Thompson will have an unfortunate accident during transport, and you'll all disappear into the system. Different charges, different facilities. By the time anyone pieces together what happened, I'll have moved on to the next crisis. What about me? Darnell asked. His voice came out steadier than he felt. What happens to me? You become exactly what I planned from the beginning. Victoria gestured, and two of her men moved toward him. The traumatized Omega who was kidnapped by the Castellanos brothers, who watched them commit crimes, who'll testify to everything I tell you to testify to. I won't. You will. Because if you don't, I'll kill everyone in this room. Starting with whichever brother you love most. Is it Quincy? He seems to be the leader. Or maybe Rashad. So protective. Or perhaps Terrence. Her smile widened. Oh, that's right. Terrence is already bleeding out near the river. My people are with him now. One call from me and they finished the job. Darnell's world narrowed to that single point. Terrence. Dying. Because Darnell had insisted on saving Thompson. Because he'd trusted Deshawn. Because he'd made choices that led them all here. Don't hurt him. The words came out broken. Please. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt him. Darnell, no. Quincy started. Quiet. Victoria didn't even look at him. You're not in a position to negotiate. None of you are. This is over. I won. You lost. The only question now is how much you suffer before the end. The warehouse door opened again. Marcus walked in, looking satisfied and smug. He saw Darnell and smiled. Told you I'd fix it, he said to Victoria. Told you I just needed time. You had time. You failed. Victoria's tone went cold. The Omega was supposed to disappear quietly. Instead, you created a spectacle. So now we clean up your mess. Permanently. Marcus's smile faltered. What do you mean permanently? I mean you're a loose end. Just like them. Victoria nodded to one of her men. Handle it. The gunshot echoed through the warehouse. Marcus dropped, eyes wide with shock, blood spreading across his expensive suit. No witnesses, Victoria said calmly. No loose ends. No mercy. She looked at Darnell, and in her eyes was nothing human. Just calculation. Just cold assessment of value and cost. Now then, she pulled out her phone. Let's discuss terms. Will Darnell sacrifice himself to save Terrence? And is Deshawn's evidence really destroyed? Subscribe and turn on notifications for the explosive finale. Comment below, what would you do in Darnell's position? The heat was overwhelming now, making everything sharp and desperate and wrong. Darnell stood between Victoria and the people he'd come to care about, body betraying him, mind struggling to focus through the haze. Quincy and Rashad were both bleeding from where Victoria's men had struck them. Deshawn was on his knees, hands zip-tied behind his back. Thompson still unconscious, unaware of the carnage unfolding around him. And somewhere across the city, Terrence was bleeding out. Alone. Dying because Darnell had been too stubborn to see the trap closing around them. Here's what's going to happen. Victoria's voice cut through the fog. You're going to come with me, quietly, cooperatively, and in exchange I'll call off my people. Let your precious alpha live. Let these others rot in jail instead of dying tonight. Don't listen to her. Quincy's voice was rough with pain. She's lying. The second you go with her, she kills us all. Maybe, Victoria shrugged. Or maybe I honor the deal. You'll never know unless he chooses. Darnell looked at Quincy, at Rashad, at Deshawn who'd risked everything trying to get justice for his brother, at Thompson who'd tried to do the right thing and nearly died for it. 4 years ago, he'd run from the triplets because he was afraid. Afraid of wanting too much. Afraid of losing what he couldn't keep. Afraid that love was just another trap designed to destroy him. But standing here now with everything falling apart, Darnell realized the truth. Running hadn't kept him safe. It had just made him alone. And being alone had made him weak enough for people like Marcus and Victoria to use. The triplets had offered him protection, partnership, Something real that didn't require him to shrink down and disappear. And he'd run. He wouldn't run again. No, Darnell said quietly. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Excuse me? I said no. Louder now. Stronger. I won't go with you. I won't testify. I won't help you destroy them. You're gonna have to kill me here. Now. In front of witnesses. You think I care about witnesses? Victoria laughed. Everyone in this room is dead or discredited. Who's going to believe anything they say? Me. The voice came from the shadows near the broken door. A figure stepped into the light. Federal badge. FBI. Special Agent Camila Wright, flanked by a dozen agents with weapons drawn. Victoria Brennan, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, racketeering, and about 40 other charges were still tallying up. Victoria went very still. You have no authority here. Actually, I do. Agent Wright held up a tablet. Not the one Victoria had destroyed. A different one. See, Deshaun here was smart. He uploaded everything to a secure server before coming to this warehouse. Every document. Every recording. Every piece of evidence proving what you've been doing for the last 20 years. And he's been wearing a wire. Another agent moved forward, removing a small device from Deshaun's collar. We've got you on tape ordering executions, admitting to conspiracy, confessing to causing Cameron Deshaun's death. Victoria's face went pale. Her men looked at each other, lowering weapons, realizing they'd just become accessories to federal crimes. You set me up. Victoria's voice was ice and poison. Yeah. Deshaun climbed to his feet, zip ties cut by one of the agents. I did, because my brother deserved better than what you gave him. And so do the hundreds of other people you've destroyed. Agent Wright moved closer to Victoria. You have the right to remain silent. The arrest happened fast. Victoria was cuffed and led away, still trying to negotiate, still believing she could buy her way out. Her men were disarmed and detained. Marcus's body was covered with a tarp, evidence of Victoria's willingness to eliminate problems. Quincy grabbed Darnell and pulled him close. Terrence, where is he? Agent Wright checked her phone. We have teams moving to his location now. He's wounded but stable. Medical transport en route. The relief was so intense Darnell's knees buckled. Quincy held him up, and Rashad was there too, and they were both touching him, holding him, making sure he was real and alive and safe. You stayed. Quincy's voice was rough with emotion. You could have run, could have saved yourself, but you stayed. I'm tired of running. Darnell looked between them. For years ago, I was scared. Scared of what I felt. Scared of what you offered. So I ran, and I've been running ever since. But I'm done. I'm choosing to stay. If you'll still have me. If we'll... Rashad laughed, the sound breaking in the middle. You just faced down one of the most dangerous people in the city to protect us. To protect Thompson and Deshaun and people you barely know. You think we'd let you go after that? We loved you 4 years ago. Quincy said it simply. Honestly, we love you now. We'll love you tomorrow and every day after if you let us. So yeah, we'll have you. For as long as you want. The heat was still there, still demanding, but it felt different now. Not like a weakness, like something natural and right that he didn't have to fight anymore. Then I'm staying, Darnell said. For real this time. The kiss was inevitable, gentle despite the chaos around them. Quincy's lips on his, Rashad's hand in his hair, the promise of Terrence's touch when he recovered. The promise of a life where Darnell didn't have to be less than he was just to survive. Agent Wright cleared her throat. We need statements. From all of you. And we need Thompson examined to document his injuries. Later. Deshaun was checking Thompson's vitals, making sure the transfer to FBI custody wouldn't kill him. Let them have this moment. They've earned it. The next hours were a blur of statements and medical exams and transport to a real hospital where Terrence was already in surgery. The FBI had questions. So many questions. But they also had evidence now. Proof that would put Victoria away for the rest of her life. Proof that would expose Marcus's crimes and help the Morrison case finally get justice. Thompson woke up 3 days later, groggy and confused but alive. He testified from his hospital bed, giving prosecutors everything they needed to file charges against Victoria's entire operation. The Morrison case was reopened with a competent attorney. They won, easily, and the floodgates opened. Dozens of former employees coming forward with similar stories. A class action lawsuit that would cost Victoria's companies billions even from prison. Deshaun got closure. Not the kind that brought his brother back, but the kind that meant Cameron's death hadn't been meaningless. That other families wouldn't suffer the same way. And Darnell got something he'd thought was impossible. Home. Not a place. Not an apartment or a building. But 3 people who looked at him like he mattered. Who protected him not because he was weak, but because he was precious. Who let him be exactly who he was without requiring him to shrink or hide or apologize. The heat cycle, when it finally came, was nothing like the fear-soaked nightmares Darnell had imagined. It was intimate, safe, overwhelming in the best way. 3 alphas who knew exactly how to care for him, who treated him like something valuable instead of something to use. And when it was over, when his body settled and his mind cleared, they were still there, still wanted him, still loved him. So what now? Darnell asked one morning, curled between Quincy and Rashad while Terrence made breakfast and sang off-key to music only he could hear. Now we live. Quincy kissed his forehead. We build something real. We figure out what comes next together instead of alone. Is it always going to be this complicated? Probably. Rashad smiled. But complicated with us beats simple and alone. Don't you think? Darnell thought about 4 years of running. 4 years of suppressants and debt and Marcus's manipulations. 4 years of trying to be invisible just to survive. Then he thought about right now. Warm and safe and surrounded by people who chose him. Yeah. He smiled. It really does. Outside, the city was waking up. Headlines were breaking about Victoria's arrest. Federal prosecutors were building cases that would reshape how corporations treated workers. Thompson was recovering. Deshaun was testifying. Marcus was dead. And somewhere in all that chaos was justice. Not perfect, not complete, but real. And for the first time in 4 years, Darnell wasn't running toward something or away from something. He was just here, present, choosing to stay, choosing to be loved. The snow had finally melted. Spring was coming. And with it, the promise of something new, something better, something worth staying for. Thank you for watching this story unfold. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next powerful narrative. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words inspire others and help us create even better stories. What would you do if you found yourself in Darnell's position? Let us know. Your voice matters.